You are a Canadian experience class candidates and you're freaking out because no draws are happening. Well, if you haven't really seen the news, there was a draw yesterday, but it was a PNP specific draw. And in this particular draw, 808 was the CRS score, 392 people were invited. But obviously, you are not one of them because you are a CEC candidate. You are not a PNP candidate. So you're freaking out. What's going to happen? You're also freaking out because your postgraduate work permit or your work permit is expiring and you're not sure what you're going to do about it. If there is going to be no draw, you obviously cannot apply for bridge open work permit. And therefore, all this stuff is really giving you those sleepless nights. I may have some solution for you. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I am an ICCRC, now CICC licensed immigration consultant. And this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not with regards to your Canadian immigration process. We are talking about Canadian experience class candidates who at this point of time, because there has been no draw since September the 14th, are now probably freaking out because their work permits are nearing expiry, because they will not be able to extend their work permits. They do not know what to do. Some of you may by now may already be out of status. What should you be doing? What are your options? Well, there are a few options available. First of all, off the bat, if you are already out of status, that's a bit of a quandary there. You can, if you are still within the 90 days of having lost your status, you could possibly still restore your status, change your status to a visitor, and you can continue staying in Canada for as long as you are given a visitor record for. Once that expires, you should leave Canada because you want to stay within the compliance of IRPR, Immigration Refugee Protection Act. So that's the first thing. If your work permit hasn't expired yet, apply for an extension. Yeah, well, I know, you cannot extend your postgraduate work permit. I know. Postgraduate work permits cannot be extended, period. All right. You get it only once in a lifetime. You cannot get another one. I know. We know, everybody knows that. All right. But what you can do is you can apply for an extension. You obviously know it is going to be refused. But this is the provision within the law itself, which says that if you apply for an extension, you can continue being on the status of your previous status in Canada. So you can continue being on that previous status that's called maintained status at this point of time, or earlier it was referred to as implied status, until the decision is made. So what's going to happen is that if you apply for an extension of your work permit while your existing postgraduate work permit is still valid, you will go on an implied status, which basically means you can continue working. Okay, because you can continue working, you can hope and pray that the draws happen soon. With the current state of things, with the way IRCC at this point of time is, they are taking significantly long to process these applications. So the minute you will apply for an extension of postgraduate work permit, you would automatically get an acknowledgement of receipt, which will tell you that you have a maintained status, which basically means you can continue working for, I think, a period of 6 months. That is what they give you to start with. From there on, once the draws happen, make sure you have all your documentation ready. So the day the draw happens, you are able to submit your PR application quickly. And because you have a maintained status, you may be able to apply for bridge open work permit. Check the criteria for bridge open work permit. As long as you have maintained your status, there may be a possibility where you may be able to apply. I keep repeating may because it may be applicable in some cases, it may not be applicable in some cases. So again, that is an option available to you. If not, once you get the decision of your extension applications, once you have been told that your application is now refused, because that is obviously what is going to happen, you will now find yourself to be out of status. You no longer have status in Canada. Within the 90 days period, you will be able to restore your status. So if you are able to get an LMIA in the meantime, if you're able to find an employer who's willing to give you an LMIA, you probably will be able to apply for a closed work permit, restore your status under the LMIA, or again, change your status to a visitor, become a visitor in Canada. That's very important. Obviously, you can also leave Canada and wait for your application processing from outside Canada if that happens. In some circumstances, there is another possibility whereby you may be able to apply for a TRP, that is a temporary resident permit. Temporary resident permits is an application for status for those people who are otherwise inadmissible to Canada. So in some cases, you may be able to apply for TRP. However, the requirements to get an approval for TRP is very, very high. The bar is very, very high. But you have a good situation here of giving them suitable reasons, compelling reasons why you need to be in Canada. The fact that this is COVID, this is pandemic, the fact that there are 1.8 million in backlog, the fact that there has been no draw since the 14th of September, the fact that at this point of time with this COVID pandemic, you cannot travel back. It's a risk. It's a safety risk. It's a risk to you yourself, to your well-being. Under all these conditions, if you prepare a good application, there is that slight possibility that you might get an approval. Mind you, TRP is not a work permit by itself. If you get an approval for TRP, from there on, you may be also be eligible to apply for a work permit. So all these conditions are possible, but the most off the bat, this is also applicable for people who have a shorter duration of postgraduate work permit. They may have not completed their period of work experience. They may be falling short of 1 or 2 months of work experience to complete and become eligible under the Canadian Experience class. Those people can also use this extension of postgraduate work permit option. So for people who are worried about the legality of doing this, let me clarify to you. Under the Immigration Refugee Protection Regulation, Section 183, subsection 5, you are allowed to do this. Let me read the text for you. And it says, and it is on your screen now, subject to subsection 5.1, if a temporary resident has applied for an extension of the period authorized for their stay, and a decision is not made on the application by the end of period authorized for their stay, the period is extended until the day on which a decision is made. If the application is refused, or the end of the new period authorized for their stay, if the application is allowed. Well, on the screen now, you can also see, this is also from the CIC website, where it says that yes, you can stay in Canada until we make a decision on your new work permit application. This is called the maintained status. You may also be authorized to work until we make a decision on your application. You must respect the following requirements. If you applied for another work permit, you must stay in Canada and work under the conditions of your original work permit. There you go. That's what we're talking about. If you applied to extend or change your work permit before it expired, you're authorized to keep working under the same conditions as your original permit until we make a decision on your application. Well, there you go. That's what I was talking about. So there is nothing to be worried about. You can absolutely work under these conditions. And this is probably your best way out. Of course, there are some other options as well. You can apply for a new work permit if you can find an employer who is willing to process an LMIA for you. You can change your status. You can become a visitor and you can continue staying in Canada for this period of time. But obviously you cannot work the minute you become a visitor. You could also possibly change your status and become an international student again. So you could probably, for a period of next 1 year, take up another study program. You could use this time well while you're here in Canada, while the application gets processed, while your ITA gets drawn, while you submit your application. All these possibilities are open for you. So don't freak out, don't stress out just yet. And when will the draws happen? Well, the fingers are crossed. The new year is already here. The quotas have been reset, and we are only waiting and hoping and praying to hear that good news when the draws will resume, whether you're a CEC or, of course, whether you're a federal skilled worker. That's all from me for today. I hope you found this of some value. If you did, please do share it with your other friends or your other colleagues who may also be stressed at this point of time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I shall see you next time. Stay tuned, take care, and good night.